In the recent classes, when the discussions happened talking about the CAT 2023, whatever the mistakes, whatever the learnings we have done, many of the students discussed their mistakes in the learnings. And even there was many questions regarding me in which they asked me what are my learnings from CAT 2023. Now, when I started jotting down the points, there were many points which I think is very relevant for all the students who are aspiring for CAT 2024. For Pehla point, which I want to talk about is my rigidity in my strategy. I think it might be happening with you even right now. Many of the people will be giving a lot of mocks दे रहे होंगे सभी और उस mocks जब देते हैं तो अपने आप एक strategy develop होता जाता है and then everyone knows that how exactly they have to go parasympathy starting में VS बाद में theta पहले करें whatever the strategy might be. I had my own strategy based on my learnings. So मैंने mocks दिए और mocks में what I was able to understand was that I always started with the RC. RC, why RC is very simple answer. RC बहुत मुझे मेरा strong domain है, मेरा strong facet है. और number two, I think a fresh mind would be much more better when you need a sustained concentration. For example, one passage, 4 questions, you're dealing with a very sustained concentration, so fresh mind will have a better say in that. And scoring भी. अगर आपको एक पैसेज क्लियर हो गया तो आपके 4 क्वेश्चंस तो निकल जाएगा. So I always had a strategy in which I used to start the 2 RCs, then the parajumbles, parasummaries, fill-ups, and the last one would be my odd one. And before odd one out, I used to even handle the remaining 2 RCs. So just like in CAT 2023, what happened? 4 RCs था, 16 questions, 16 questions for dealing with the reading comprehension. Then it was the BA, in which 2 were the parajumbles, 2 parasummaries, 2 fill-ups, and 2 were the odd one out. So what happened in my case was I was so rigid in my strategy that my strategy was already very much decided before even the test. So I've seen in the mocks that I scored very well when I followed a particular strategy. आप भी कर रहे होंगे वो चीज. So one of the very important learning which you always keep in mind is never have a rigid strategy. Your strategy shouldn't be on the strength and weakness of yours. Rather, your strategy should be based upon the weakness of the test. The point what I'm trying to say is, in my case, what exactly happened was, I was not able to even attempt the 2 odd one out questions. Odd one out questions in the CAT 2023 slot 3 were the easiest ones. इतना easy था कि even I think the 7th or 8th class student can easily do it. It was a grammar mistakes which were there. So odd one out निकालने के लिए it was a very easy game, but I was not even able to reach the odd one. मैं पहुंचा ही नहीं वहाँ. So what happened was I spent my time in the difficult areas and in which you were spending 2 to 3 minutes per question. Rather, the things which could have been done in 10 seconds, wo I left. So the first thing which you have to keep in mind is your strategy should be flexible enough and it should be based on the weakness of the test, not on your strengths. Okay. Don't develop a strategy based on your strengths, which I think most of the students do. Base your strategy on the weakness of the test. Weakness of the test means the easiest to go into. The second mistake which I used to do, which I will not be doing in the CAT 2024. मेरा तो slot 1 ही है इस बार, so I'm very happy to have a slot 1 in CAT 2024. And these are the mistakes I'm not going to repeat this year. I scored very well in CAT 2023, but I think 4 or 5 marks or 6 marks more, I could have reached the 100 percentile, which I ended with the 99.98 percentile. So what is the second mistake? Whenever in the strategy we make, we are always decided that हमारा RC अच्छा है, हमारा parasummaries अच्छा है, हमारा parajumble अच्छा नहीं है, या fill-up अच्छा नहीं है, and that's why we actually devise on the strategy based upon our sections. We see a verbal test as how we see a verbal test. 16 टेस्ट 16 क्वेश्चन for RC, इतना पैराजंबल था, इतना पैरासम्बली था, and this is the way we even introduce the test. But the test real introduction and the way you should be looking at is the easy, medium, and the difficult questions. So the first thing you should be doing is, as I told you, the first thing I already told you, that was the your strategy should be based upon the weakness of the test. The second thing, most important thing is, don't look at the test as a sectional. Don't see as sections as a part of it. I meant to say, when you're looking at a test, verbal I'm talking specifically today, and when I'm talking about the verbal, even the DLR, I will say the same thing to the quant. Quant, every question has a very different standing. But in DILR, even in the verbal, many of the questions are jumbled up, like a bundle kind of a thing. So the point what I'm saying is, don't look at the things as a as a RC or a para summary or anything. Look at the test as a, you divide the whole test or the whole question into three categories, in which is easy, medium, and the difficult. And don't look at the sections as para summary or a para jumbles and all. So this was the second mistake which I did. So my strategy was totally based on section-wise strategy. I'm going to say, you start with RC, you move into para jumbles and all. Rather, the strategy should be easy, medium to skill. So the strategy, as simply put, is go for the low hanging fruit. Go for the low hanging fruit. So what you have to do is go for the easy questions before, and the medium, and then highly difficult. The point I'm saying, it should move across the categories, across sections. So when I'm looking at the parajumbles or parasummary, for me it shouldn't be like this is an odd one out, or this is a fill ups, or this is a text filling thing, or this is an RC. Rather, मेरा understanding ये होना चाहिए कि this is the easy one, this is a difficult one, this is a medium difficult one. So I should always start from easy, medium, difficult, just like in the quant we do. But usually in the verbal, how we do is, even the DLR, what we do is we usually go for the things like in the sections we pick. Like parasummary, I'm very good at, and so I'll start the parasummary, and so we move forward. Now, what exactly happens in this case? What are the mistakes I'm talking about? What exactly happened was that the most easiest question, I was not even able to read the questions. So when after the test, I did look at the total when we were doing analyzing the whole thing. What I found out was that the easiest, I left the most easiest question. I'll give an example to you. Just look at this screen. Now, look at this. This was one of the questions which I'm talking about. Now, this is an odd one of question. Okay. And when you look at the question, this is a question which is very easy to hit. And even the most surprising part was that I was not even able to read this question. I never had the time to look into it, and this was the easiest question in the total slot. So, what was the question? We have just look at this question. Now, in this part, this is actually a total 10 seconds question. You will not need more than 10 seconds. Now, in this thing, when you just read it out, what you will find out is the 1, 3, and the 4th and 5th option is talking about the language. For example, the first, when you look at the sentence, is talking about the language. The second, when you look at, is also talking about the language. This is also talking about a part of a language, and this is also talking about the language. But when you look at this part, this has no reference to the language. Okay, so easy picking. The second most important thing in this question was that look at this thing, has been. Now, this is a very big grammar mistake. For example, they are talking about, in this question, they are talking about a tribe which has gone extinct. Okay, even being extinct, when a tribe is not even existing right now, the correct grammar is had been. Had been तब यूज होता है जब हम कहते हैं कोई चीज पास्ट में स्टार्ट हुआ और पास्ट में खत्म हो गई. But what exactly in this thing है? This is a tribe which has gone extinct. Okay. Now, they have used the phrase has been. Has been actually is a in grammar in very layman language I will tell you कोई चीज पास्ट में स्टार्ट हुआ लेकिन अभी भी चल रहा है तो उसमें हम हैज बीन यूज करते हैं सो दिस वाज द सेकंड थिंग द पॉइंट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज even a 7th or 8th class student could have picked this odd one out very easily which I was not even able to read it because of my the strategic mistakes. Now third important thing, spend your time in strategizing. Okay? Even in the verbal, even in the DLR, I'm not going to talk about the quant. Quant थोड़ा strategically easy होता है. But when you're talking the DLR and the verbal, spend your time strategizing first. What exactly happens in many of the cases is on the basis you are actually short of time, and the time that management, the time pressure becomes a very big point in any test. I can understand. So what actually we do is we usually move this, we don't optimally strategize. हम इतना strategy में time नहीं लगाते in the selection process. Even in the selection process, we usually are not very much reading the whole ensemble or whole the group. Rather than we are just looking at the first passage or the passage and the total passage, and we are selecting that this is the passage we are going to pick up. The point what I'm trying to say is if you're spending your optimal time in the strategizing, what exactly will happen is when you're looking at an RC, even try to look at the questions part of them. So might be the RC might seem very easy to you, but might be the question might be critical reasoning questions and might be very difficult to handle. So when you are short of time and you are actually in hurry, what exactly happens is when you're selecting it or strategizing the whole approach, we actually just look at some of the passage, one passage or one paragraph, and we usually decide this is the RC I'm going to get. But what exactly happens in this case is when you're not having the understanding of total that challenge, you will actually feel the problem when you will move into it. Even if you are able to understand the passage, आप उसे आंसर ही नहीं कर पाएंगे when you reach the question part. So the third thing which is very important is optimally strategize. The fourth most important thing is don't be perfectionist. Okay, टीचर्स परफेक्शनिस्ट होते हैं और या हो that's a different thing because as a teacher when I go into a test my role is not only to score well. My role or my I would say the objective is to have a feel of each and every question. So merely even if it's I know that 2 RCs out of the 4 RCs if I go by I will be at the top percentage. But then also, as a teacher, I will put in a teacher's dilemma. मेरा challenge क्या होगा कि I'll try to get a feel of each and every question. So in my case, I will. This is also one of the mistakes which you can count it as a mistake even. Don't be a perfectionist. Perfection should never be an enemy of the order. I mean to say, the best shouldn't be the enemy of the good. In a very layman language I'm going to talk about just to be perfect मुझे perfect होना है उससे मैं even execute ही नहीं करता हूँ मान लेते मैं जब भी कोई चीज execute करता हूँ and it turns out good I'm not very happy and I keep on redoing the whole thing that's a very fine thing but till the time I'm perfect I'm not going to execute is a very bad strategy to have. So the point what I'm trying to say is perfection should never be the enemy of the good. Okay, it should good and perfection or good and best should be friends. Rather, the being good, you turn good after working good for a long time. You will turn best. So it shouldn't be the enemy. Rather, it should be friends to each other. Even when you are into a question, let's say you have a you didn't spend much time in the selection. आपने selection में time नहीं लगाया. You are bad in strategizing, and let's say you are into a wrong question. Let's say a difficult question, and you've taken a wrong question. Exit early. Okay, just like dating, you move into it. If it's not working, exit early. So don't spend a lot of time in a bad bargain. Say if you have done a mistake, accept it and move out of it. In the DLR, I did the mistake last year, which at the DLR, the total video I would be doing afterwards. Today, my main concentration was on the verbal part. So I will be doing the DLR as well as the same mistakes. The CAT is using mistake in the quant which I did. So I ended up getting a good percentile, but then also I could have easily got the 100 percentile. If these mistakes I could have avoided, which I would be avoiding this time. Now, in the DLR, what exactly happened was I found out that I am doing a mistake. There was one root question in the slot 3, and which I found out that I am actually having a problem with that. So exit early. I mean to say, if it's not working, move out of it. There is nothing wrong in having an escape route. भगोड़ा होना कोई गलती नहीं, भगोड़ा होना कोई difficult situation से is not a bad thing to have. When I'm talking about this test, तो भागने की तैयार. So if you are into a let's say you have taken a bad decision, move out of it quickly and take a new strategize. Then after that, strategize and look into the other questions. The next mistake, which many of the students were talking about, and I didn't do that mistake, but there was one thing which came out about very often in the classes, and that was that many of the people think that when you're looking at the theta questions, they are easy, or they should be. It's a better bargain than the questions which have a negative marking. So what exactly happens is, I may leave a question with a negative marking, but I'll never leave it. So my first hit, go only for the many of the people have a strategy that start with the theta questions. This is a wrong actual strategy. Even when if you're missing, let's say just what is the difference there? The difference is 3. You are getting 3, and you're losing up if you're marking it wrong. But it doesn't mean that you should be choosing that question of theta just because of that one negative mark. The total strategy should always be one, and it should be pick the low hanging fruit first. Okay, and don't base your understanding on that negative marking or anything. Even if you're spending time and if you're marking it wrong, let's say you would be losing 3 marks. I know that in the negative marking, if it would have been a negative marking, you would be losing 4 marks. So फिर भी 3 marks lose कर जाना और time waste कर जाना भी उतना ही problematic है. So my point, what I'm trying to say is, don't go for theta question in the starting. The only thing you should be looking at is look at the total test. Divide the test into easy questions, medium difficulty questions, and high difficulty level questions, and start plucking the low hanging fruit. So lastly, you can count it's a mistake or not. That's a different matter, but it's a part of the discussion. I will also bring it. When a teacher go for a test, they have their own dilemma. Okay? They are not only looking for the marks. My understanding when I go for a test with teacher is I'll try to feel each and every question. So when I look at the DLR part, I went for all the questions and even the RIAs. So I started the 2 RCs, 2 paras, summaries, jambles, pillars. Then I went for the 2 remaining RCs, and then I went for the odd one out, and I left the odd one. And you can see in the screen that how easy that is, right? The question is. Now, summing it up, number 1, the strategy should be based upon weakness of the test and not on the strengths. Number 2, never ever see the whole thing into some sections like मैं RC में अच्छा हूँ, मैं parasympathetic में अच्छा हूँ, so I'll start with parasympathetic. I'll start with the RCs which I have done in the last test. Always divide the whole verbal thing when I'm talking about into easy, medium, difficult rather than any. Don't see them as a section. So when you are out of the thing and when you're analyzing the CAT, let's say 2024, you should be able to tell 10 easy tha, 10 difficult, medium tha, 4 difficult tha, rather than saying 2 parasympathetic tha. So actually when you're saying 2 parasympathetic tha ya 2 RC tha, so in this way you are telling exactly you're not able to strategize very well. So summing up the whole points, theta wala baat, everything, if I'm summing up the whole thing, it should be like the low hanging fruit. That's the only strategy you should have. And be flexible with your strategies. Don't be very rigid, don't be perfectionist. But is in tests में, IQ test में, perfectionists have no role. Rather, perfection should never be the enemy of good. Even in life, आप इस वजह से एग्जीक्यूट मत करिए कि परफेक्ट ही मैं एग्जीक्यूट तभी करूंगा जब मेरा परफेक्शन होगा. Even with an average thing, you should be, even with a, if you're reaching the stage of a good, you should be executed. Okay, so best of luck to CAT 202.